See the guy behind me? He's English. There's so much that the English have deviously stolen from the Scots. Today, I'm going to tell you how they stole the north of England. If you're interested in the people, places and events in Scottish history, then click the subscribe button at the bottom right of the screen. In the meantime, let me tell you a story. In the past, I've told you about the Treaty of Durham and the English town that belongs to Scotland. Now, I'm not saying that I'm a thought leader, but all I'll say is that since that video, Doncaster City Football Club have applied to enter the Scottish Cup on the basis of that Treaty of Durham relationship. Come on, Doncaster, leave Jeremy Clarkson behind and walk north with your head held high. Today, we're going back to the same era that we discussed in that video, the era of the Canmore Kings of Scotland, to tell you how the rest of the north of England should belong to us too. But it was stolen. And I've brought you to the scene of the crime. Is 1157 the most important date in Scottish history? Now, a quick recap might be needed. In 1138, David I of Scotland invaded the north of England, ostensibly in support of Empress Matilda. She was his niece, you know. See, David's sister had married Henry I of England. They had a daughter, Matilda. David was Henry's bosom buddy and right-hand man. He'd sworn to Henry that he'd protect Matilda's rights to the English throne when Henry died. Now, when Henry did die, Matilda's cousin Stephen grabbed the throne before her. The thieving git! So, England broke out in a civil war that they call the Anarchy. Now, anarchy wasn't UK-wide. That would have to wait for the Sex Pistols. But never mind that bollocks. Even if he wasn't supporting his niece's claim to the throne, why shouldn't David invade the north of England? Now, before our neighbours get upset, think about it. Not only was David's niece the nominated English queen, but David's wife was also the daughter of the previous Earl of Northumbria. So David and his children were entitled to Northumbria. The recently deceased Norman King of England had authorised David to marry the woman whose family had held Northumbria. Even then, the Normans were Johnny-come-latelys. David's wife's granddad had held Northumbria before the Normans even got here. Plus, I've said it before and I'll say it again, David's mum was the Saxon princess who fled the Norman conquest, bringing the rightful Saxon line north to marry into the Scottish royal family. David was the last of that line. That's right. David was sprung from Saxon royalty. He was descended from Edward the Confessor, Alfred the Great. Why shouldn't the north of England be his? Damn it! All of England should be ours. We're the great in Great Britain. You'd be screwed without us. It's us that's kept you going these last 40 years. I tell you what, get me my claim.
Mr. Fumey!
Sorry. In that video about the English town that belongs to Scotland, I explained how Doncaster was given to David in the Treaty of Durham. Actually, much more of the north of England had been taken by David at that time. Basically, pretty much all he wanted. For now. David, and as we'll see, the Scottish kings who followed him, felt a strong entitlement to Cumberland and Northumbria in particular, for the reasons that I laid out in my detailed, reasoned and measured explanation earlier. If you're wondering where this place is, it's Peveril Castle. Now, the Peverils supported King Stephen in that anarchy that was going on in England. Fortunes swung back and forth in the conflict, but for the most part, Stephen got the upper hand over David's niece Matilda. Now, I'd love to say that David was entirely altruistic, invading to support his niece Matilda, as he'd promised her dad. The truth is that when Stephen offered David a deal, whereby Stephen got to remain as King of England and David got what he wanted in the north of England, Matilda's needs kind of got forgotten. Of course, There were dances about who held what from whom and all that kind of stuff, but the Treaty of Durham was Stephen's acceptance of the political reality that David was in control of the north of England. But David was a sly old fox, and there were a few more twists and turns to come. When Matilda's faction made a comeback and captured Stephen, David swung to her aid. When they screwed it all up at the rout of Winchester, David had to realign again. I'm not really painting him in a very good light here, am I? He was a hugely successful medieval king, and for all his professed piety, he was a pretty ruthless political operator. By May 1149, it seemed clear that Stephen was pretty much in control of the south of England. Matilda's cause was lost. Then, at David's court in Carlisle, arrived Matilda's son, the 16-year-old Henry of Anjou, David's great-nephew. David put on a big ceremony where he knighted the young lad. But before he did, he got Henry to swear an oath that should Henry ever succeed to the English throne, that he would formally recognise Scottish possession of those northern English counties. Now, don't get me wrong, there was never any likelihood of Henry gaining the English throne. But David was just making sure. There were two sides of the English debate, and he was making sicker that what he'd already gained from Stephen, he would keep in the unlikely event that Henry staged a Liverpool-style Champions League second half comeback. Scotland has around a third of the landmass of Great Britain, and a lot of it is mountainous. Beautiful for tourism, but not entirely practical for wealth development in an agrarian, pastoral, arable, or for that matter sometimes an industrial economy. Imagine if Scotland's borders permanently moved south. Greater landmass, additional resources, more populace. What impact would that increase in resources and manpower have made? How different might history have turned out? Would Scotland have made further gains? Would the War of the Roses played out differently? Would the Tudors have reached the English throne? Might it have impacted on the nature of the Reformation in this archipelago? Global trade, empire, innovation, dominance. Would the UK have happened? What would have been the balance of power in these islands, and indeed, throughout the world? As it was, Henry did pull off a Liverpool-style Champions League comeback, and 5 years later, he became Henry II of England, a year after his great-uncle David died. When Henry did become king, he took this castle from the Peverills, who had backed Stephen against his mum, Matilda. Then 3 years after his rise to the throne, Henry summoned the successor of the recently deceased David I here to Peveril Castle. It must have been quite an occasion. David's 16-year-old grandson recently crowned Malcolm IV of Scotland, Malcolm the Maiden, a Scotland that was much larger than the one that his grandfather had inherited. Malcolm met with his cousin, Henry II of England. Was it to honour the promises that Henry had made to David and his successors? No. It was to renege on those commitments and demand the Scottish king's lands in Cumberland and Northumbria. We'll never know what might have been if those northern English territories had remained in the lands of the Scots. Maybe Doncaster City would be playing in the Scottish Cup already. I wonder, was 1157 the most important date in Scottish history? If you'd like to find out about other key dates in Scottish history, then there's a video coming up on screen now. In the meantime, ha mi an dóchas gún bí lá málaibh. Cheery and drasta.